Hey guys, we are back with another Bandai Spirits Tamashii Nations review, taking a look at something a little bit familiar but a little bit not familiar for me, and also something a little bit early because we have got an early sample of the formerly SDCC 2020 exclusive SH MonsterArts King of the Monsters Godzilla, and this is the event exclusive color, so it's kind of like an Atomic Blast colorway for the big guy here. So we've got this guy here in a really large format box. You can see that he is quite massive, and he is very much got a lot of space in this thing. It's got a fantastic kind of manga style artwork shot here on the front with Godzilla about to blast off there. So this is fantastic presentation on its own. You've got a shot of the figure on the side and then a shot of his tail on the other side that wraps around from the rest of the artwork. And then the back is where all the business is. So you've actually got the window on the back side this time around with product shots of Godzilla in all of his sort of candy-coated blue goodness. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our event-exclusive 2020 Godzilla SH MonsterArts. And before we get started, in the sake of full transparency, I do need to say that this figure was provided for review by Bluefin. But let's get started, let's take a look and see what this guy can do. So I'm going to say right off the bat that yes, I am very familiar with Godzilla. Yes, I do have Godzilla toys. I have never owned an SH MonsterArts. Kind of seems weird. I've wanted to get into this line for, I don't know, any number of reasons. Take your pick. If you watch my reviews, you know that I'm very much entrenched in plenty of other stuff. But this line has always been something that I've just kind of looked at from the sidelines. This figure, though, is something a little different because it's an established figure already because there's, what, 2 other versions of this guy, but he's done up in a very specific way. So this guy is fully translucent blue plastic, which, again, if you watch my stuff, you know that translucent plastic is going to get me right off the bat. This guy looks like a big blue Jolly Rancher, basically, and for some reason, I just like this kind of stuff. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around, because he is a little bit interesting. I mean, there's maybe more articulation here than I expected, or maybe I should have expected more, honestly. Maybe I should have expected for there to be this much. So let's start at the head. So he can move up and down, side to side really good, and then you can rotate there. You do have an articulated jaw. It's just kind of like a ball peg, which is used to swap out some pieces. We'll talk about that later. So the whole neck can actually move side to side as well to get you that kind of, you know, slashing, swiping effect that he can do. You've got at the, let's say the torso here has a little bit of tilts up and down. There's a series of plates, basically, is the best way to say it. So he can go up and down here, he can go up and down here, but he can also twist and sort of bobble here. So you do have kind of your tilt action side to side right here, and then in conjunction with that head, you can get him to move a little bit more to the side. You've got rotation at the arm. It doesn't really go out too much, just a little bit. You do have a double jointed elbow, which is frankly more than I expected, so he's got good range there. And then you've got hinge, and then you've got rotation at the wrist. Wrist is a little bit limited, but at the same time, with this particular Godzilla, it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility for that to be just the way it should be. The legs go pretty much all the way out, so you can get him to go do the Godzilla splits, you know, like he does in the movie all the time. So you can kick those out to the side, and then they do actually bow outwards. They also fully rotate in that socket. He has double jointed knees, although they are, I mean, big thunder thighs there. So he's only going to go so far, and you can hear the plastic kind of creaking, obviously. I think it's just due to the nature of the fact that this is translucent stuff, so nothing to be worried about. It's not giving me any issues or cause for concern. So you've got the hinges there, and then you've got rotation down at this joint right here, which I guess would be sort of an ankle, a boot cut almost. If this was a boot-wearing Godzilla, he'd sort of have a boot cut there, and then you'd have a ball peg down at the actual ankle, which does afford some rotation, as well as hinge forward, backward, and a little bit of rocker. It's a tiny ball peg, just to keep the plates together, it seems, so it doesn't do too much, but it does give you a little bit of tilt action. The tail is pretty well articulated. It is a series of plates again. Not all of these are necessarily a hinge or a joint. They don't necessarily do that. There are a few positions where things really move, like right at the base of the tail, you can specifically pivot this really well, and then towards the back, like right here, you can pivot it again, and it gives you another area to just sort of cut it a little bit further. But then you can do something like this, where it's swiping all the way to the side, or it's going up, or it just lays straight down, things like that. So it does have pretty good range. There's no bendy wire or anything in here, so it's just a series of joints through and through with these little segments of translucent plastic. So he does move around really well. I've had no real issues posing him or getting him to balance or stand up. Of course, the tail does cause a little bit of a weight problem on the back as far as distribution goes, but it's always going to be sitting on the ground anyway, for the most part, that is. So I think he moves really well. Again, no real issues moving him around. He does have a little bit more articulation than I expected, but like I said, I probably should have expected this just based on the line we're dealing with. Now, when it comes to the aesthetics, I have to think, at least for me, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably going to be true for a lot of folks that are buying this or are interested in this, it's all about the look with this figure. Because, frankly, a lot of its detail is in some ways lost because it's all just one shade of blue. Well, at least from the body perspective. It's one shade of blue, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a very specific aesthetic. I've already said it, and I've said it a million times before in other videos. I love translucent plastic. It's a very nostalgic thing as far as toys when I was a kid, so I like seeing that kind of stuff implemented in toys when I'm an adult. Seeing a fully translucent blue Godzilla for some reason really works for me. I know this isn't necessarily screen accurate or anything like that, but it's cool. And cool factor goes a long way when it comes to just buying toys, especially for me. I really think, though, there is a tremendous level of detail on this figure. Granted, some of it might be a little lost, but there is, I mean, just every single inch of this figure is covered in sculpted detail. Everything is kind of that mottled, leathery skin that Godzilla has. There is, of course, some paint. He does have two little beady black eyes that are painted on, and then you have a ton of kind of white dry brushing that goes along the spines, which are all really well done. I'm a big fan of how these spines look. You know, they have that sort of pseudo-classic Godzilla look with this particular interpretation. Obviously, it's not exactly that, but I like the design of this Godzilla. That's the easy way to say it, and I think it translates really well into figure form here. He does have a little bit of nail polish down there on his toes to kind of sort of bring those out, because they would be super, super translucent at that point. So it's kind of got that powder blue, which works really well with the white and the light blue that's in the spines, and then of course that runs all the way down the tail. But it's all about the translucent plastic. I think it looks really good. I mean, it's kind of like an ice blue, I think is the best way to describe it. That kind of look, like an electric blue color. And it works really well to give off the vibe that this is an Atomic Blast version. You know, you've got the regular, you've got Burning Godzilla, and then you've got maybe an Atomic Blast variant. And if you're into translucent plastic, I mean, really, how could you resist this? It just looks cool. It kind of oozes a cool factor with everything going on from all of the sculpt, the way the light catches all these little scaly details, and then again, it's translucent plastic, so it's already got that little bit of detail that will bring me in as a collector and as a fan, but then it has this kind of cool factor that might get somebody else into it that just wants this weird and goofy looking Godzilla. Now, as far as size comparisons go, just to give you an idea of what this guy looks like next to other stuff, while I don't have other MonsterArts figures, I do have other Godzillas. So we've got the Burning Godzilla for the same version of Godzilla from NECA here. So you can see we've got our blue one and we've got our red-orange one here. And I think they stack up pretty nicely. They are quite similar when it comes to size, overall height, and length as well. The tails are very, very similar. Now, say for something a little bit different that definitely doesn't scale, but maybe gives you a better idea. Here he is with the SH Figuarts Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku, just to give you an idea of what he looks like with a more standard figure that, while, I mean, obviously they aren't in scale, it gives you an idea of just how big this guy is, and then of course, there he is to give you an idea of just how long he is. Now, as far as accessories goes, the big guy doesn't have much, which frankly isn't too weird for a Godzilla figure. It's not like he's going to come with any guns or swords or anything, but he does have the one thing that frankly I want with all of my Godzillas. He's got a breath effect. So you've got a few pieces, and to use them, you actually have to pop out the lower jaw. So the way I've found best is just to sort of push up, sort of close the mouth all the way, and it will pop right out. And then you've got this piece. So this is kind of the mouth with the beginnings of a burning effect or an atomic breath. So you can just sort of pop that in the lower jaw, and it will sit there just like that. But then he's also got this big guy. So you've got a full-length atomic blast effect, which is done up in a great translucent blue, of course. This has some more darker shading on it. It's not got any of the white like the body of Godzilla, but it does have some darker blues on some of the points. And it goes in a kind of a specific way, so it'll fit in kind of just like that. And it will sort of peg in. It's definitely keyed in a certain way, and it'll kind of tell you with how firm it's in there, if it's in there correctly or not. But then you can, you know, sort of do something like this, and then you've got Godzilla firing off an atomic blast, and for my money, this is the way Godzillas should generally be displayed because, I mean, come on, everybody loves Godzilla Atomic Breath. It's his signature attack, and I love effect pieces. And this is a cool effect piece, so you kind of win me over on all accounts. The signature effect, the cool translucent plastic, and, I mean, come on. It's an Atomic Breath piece. You can't really go wrong there. So yeah, I think we've got a pretty solid figure here. Frankly, I don't know that there's anything to really complain about on this one. Articulation is really nice, sculpt is tremendous, although you do lose a little bit of that detail with the translucent plastic. You can certainly feel it, and all of those spines and the tail are really accentuated by the paint apps to bring out that sculpt a little better, just to see what you're working with. I do think that, again, this guy might be geared more towards certain type of collectors. This isn't one of those everybody necessarily has to get him. It's one of those, this is a con exclusive, it's a figure you might already have, but it's done up in a different and very cool way, so you might actually still want to get it. It is a Godzilla that's done up in translucent blue plastic. It kind of sells itself. It's just cool, it's weird, it's different, and it certainly is going to catch your eye and has a great shelf presence. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Spirits Tamashii Nations SH Monster Arts King of the Monsters Godzilla event exclusive. That was a mouthful. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.